many times do I have to repeat this to you? I'm sick and tired. What the hell's that?
I don't know.
I think somebody's at the door. Hey.
You can't even film stuff without people knocking.
Well, you know, that's the way of the world. Who is it?
But don't start personally insulting me.
Huh?
But don't start personally insulting me.
Hannibal! Ah! Oh, no! Not that way! There!
Welcome to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler and broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh, only filmed here out of indie music. What are you doing? I'm kind of like watching you now. Like I never realized after 2 years all the things you do on the
weird
side.
things I do to the side.
The weird stuff on the side.
Little things mean a lot.
Anyway, you're watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestler and broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh, filmed out of indie music TV, straight out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island. At the board, as usual, is Mr. Matthew Ice. Matthew, how are you, sir?
Howdy. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Not as good as those shoes.
So I got a little bit of good
shiny
news
shoes he's got
for everybody out there and Matt.
Yeah.
So thanks to his appearances on the Monte The Pharaoh channel, Tony Atlas has been contacted for a documentary on a very famous WWE owner.
Whoa.
And that's due to your great production work, Matt. Good job, pal.
Thank you. I'm proud to be a part of this production. I'm always happy to be part of it and do more. I mean, I just love it.
What do you think? What do you think if they do the documentary right out of here, and you might actually get do some help filming that documentary? What do you think?
That would be part of a dream.
How awesome
That'd be
is
the
that?
start.
Wow.
I want to say hello to a few people out there. I want to say hello to Mr. Chris Lee. How are you, PJ? Good to see you. He says if Cody's in New York, it's safe that he's not going back. It's safe to bet he is going back to the WW. Now he's joining Northeast Wrestling out of Newburgh. ESL Creative, our man. How are you, sir?
ESO.
Great sponsor. ESO, how are you, buddy? Maria Davis in the house. Always good to see you. Stingers,
Maria.
great to see you. Roy, also great to see you. Davio, what up, my friend? Always good to see you.
What up?
All right, so let's start it off. We got a good little special show for everybody tonight, so it should be kind of fun. As we draw closer to the Elimination Chamber on Saturday, and more importantly, as we draw to March 5th, where we have a marathon of wrestlers running through the studio. We'll discuss later.
Yeah.
Buff Bagwell last week, Pharaoh.
Love Buff. He's got the stuff.
And if anyone doesn't know it, that is Jimmy Farrow. He is the star of the show of Long Island's #1 pro wrestler and broadcast.
Hello.
Buff
What
was
up?
excellent.
I love Buff.
Came out of the bullpen.
Blew my mind, by the way. That was great.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was like, who's coming out of the bullpen? Oh, it's Buff Bagwell.
So I want to ask everybody, were you a little disappointed that it wasn't the gentleman who wanted to talk about Hannibal? Or were you happy that...
Clickbait!
Or happy that Buff came into the bullpen and helped out the show? Phil, how are you, buddy?
How could you not be thrilled that we had Buff Bagwell? I mean, what's wrong with you, you know? I wanted Hannibal's friend. Jeez, it's Buff Bagwell.
All right, so some good news straight out of the movies.
Okay.
Right?
Straight out of the movies.
Paisley Schultes, I think I'm saying that right. 4-year-old reported missing in 2019, found alive under a staircase, police say.
Under a staircase.
A girl who was 4 years old when she was reported missing in 2019 has been found. Police in New York announced Tuesday they have discovered Paisley, under the staircase in a home under her non-custodial parents.
What is a non-custodial?
Good question, because I was asking the same thing.
What does that mean?
So a non-custodial parent, I found out.
All right.
That's a great question.
Yeah, what is it?
It's a parent who lost the rights to their child.
Ooh.
So wouldn't you
this
think
is abduction.
but wouldn't you think if that child went missing and you weren't
you
allowed
might
to have
want to
it,
check.
you might want to check the house,
right,
before
But I tell
2022.
you, hey, nobody looked under the staircase. That's what happened. They searched the house high and low, but 3 years ago or 2 years ago when she first went, but they forgot to check under the staircase.
And bingo, there she was.
Did they hear knocking maybe under the staircase? How did they? How did this happen?
Well, that kid's life's ruined.
Don't say that. She's so small, man. Hopefully she doesn't.
Dude, you don't recover from that.
Hopefully she doesn't even realize what's going on. When you're 4 years old, you're still developing thoughts. So hopefully this will just be some weird.
PJ
blur
says this
later.
has been all over the local news lately. The kidnappers are already out. Wow.
How is that?
Don the Barber in the house. Don, how are you? Marty, what's up? Greetings from the mountains. Good to see you, my friend.
Marty?
Marty?
Different Marty.
Different Marty.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, now you speak about Marty, Maria Davis reached out to me and told
Okay.
me that Marty is not doing well at all. I tried to reach out to him again. He didn't pick up.
What's wrong with Marty?
I've read some things. I think Maria shared that he's swelling up his feet and his back.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
But I've been hearing that he's been sick for a while. I've been trying to catch. Phil, maybe you know a little something. I know the Big Fat Whale's been saying that he's been talking to Marty. I don't know if that's true or not. So Phil, if you could confirm or deny, that would be fantastic, my friend.
All right.
Because I got to tell you, Rick, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Marty's not picking up my calls, and
That's
I
bizarre.
talk to Marty like 2 or 3
Marty
times
usually
a week.
rings your phone off the hook.
Like rings, yeah. So
what is
it's
going on?
concerning.
That's weird. Okay, I guess we'll know.
Phil
soon
says,
enough.
"Thankfully, children are resilient." I hope you're right, Phil, because usually those.
Yeah, she's very young. Hopefully,
screws
this
up
will
some
just be
kids.
some sort of blur later.
All right, so Farrah, your boy Hannibal.
My boy Hannibal.
Your boy
How
Hannibal.
does he become my? Why is
It's
it every
official.
time we have an enemy or some jackass?
Hannibal's
it
not
becomes
really
my,
an enemy.
You know.
Do you really think Hannibal's
He
an enemy?
knocked on the door last week. I'm not dealing with him. I ran for my life, and you ran right after me. You were right behind me.
Yeah, like a fat whale, but that's okay.
Don't.
Do you know I used to be? If
Another
anyone
fat
doesn't
whale?
believe it, and you could confirm
you were a
this,
hell of an athlete.
I was a great
You
running
were-
back.
you were
and
fast as-
I was fast as lightning.
You were fast.
Not
as lightning
anymore.
Back in the day.
But anyway, he's at it again, kinda.
Yeah.
I don't know if
right.
everybody knows out there. Matt Granahan, the king of Connecticut,
King of
right,
Connecticut. Right.
was on Hannibal's show talking about his possible role in Ric Flair's latest divorce.
Latest divorce. That's number 5 for Rick, right?
So yeah. So
Okay.
he was actually on one of our shows, Mr. King of Connecticut.
Yeah, that was the
on
dungeon.
In the dungeon.
Yeah.
This guy goes on to discuss that he communicated with Flair and sent him pictures of women, and Flair's wife saw it. Then Flair asked this dude, that he needed to call his wife Wendy and say, "Hey,
It was sent
I
by
was
mistake.
sent by mistake," which I don't think Wendy would have fell for anyway.
Oh, I believe you, Rick. You're such an angel.
And then later on, he talks about how, he shows screenshots of Flair cursing him out.
Right.
And then he later says that him and Wendy are going out for drinks.
Oh, so he's poking the flare. Get it? Not poking the bear. He's poking the flare.
Poking the Flair.
That's
Jimmy
rough.
the Lumberjack, how are you, buddy?
So, Jimmy the Lumberjack, what up?
Stingers, I think, says he's in the ER. Dan said
please
Marty
don't tell
was
me
in the ER. Well, that's
How
not
do these
good.
folks even notice? What does Marty drop a line to? Hey, Phil.
Oh, Jimmy the Lumberjack says, "This is Hannibal. Welcome to my YouTube channel." So anyway, go back on the King of Connecticut.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that guy?
I don't know.
You-
I don't know
were you
what to think.
entertained by him?
I don't know what to think about him. I just know I wouldn't want to be him. That's all I knew. I was just like, although I like his hair. He's got
a nice
he's
head
got
of hair.
Some serious hair.
Yeah, good looking man.
He's actually pretty goddamn funny, if you want to know the truth.
You like him?
I thought he was
There's
pretty
nothing
funny.
wrong with liking.
I thought he was
liking.
pretty funny. However, did he upset somebody? Didn't he upset somebody? Or is this like we don't want to get into this right now? Or do we want to get into this?
Oh man, the shocking news out
What?
there. Jimmy the Lumberjack wants to know, when did you switch the camels?
Camels.
I think
These
he
are
says
poor moles.
switch from camels.
I haven't switched. It's just whatever's available at the store. Non-filters are hard to come by out here. So basically, this week it was Palmol non-filters. But thank you for asking.
Don the Barber checking in. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Congrats to KO, and I think this is really good for the WrestleMania match versus Stone Cold, and also congrats to the Blood Hunter in his upcoming match at the Big Bill's Lumberyard.
Was he wrestling himself? At Big Bill. He's wrestling Big Bill.
No, he's wrestling the King of Connecticut. You know the King of Connecticut is a wrestler.
He's going to wrestle the King of Connecticut.
He's a wrestler, King of Connecticut. Did you know that?
Isn't everybody?
He's a part-time stockbroker,
Okay.
professional wrestler,
Okay.
actor,
Okay. Hair stylist.
hairstylist,
Hey, that's killer hair. Killer hair.
right?
Yeah.
He wears those Rolexes. He's kind of fleshy.
Somebody said those weren't real. Did you see some of those comments? They were like, "Where'd you get that out of a gumball machine?"
Maria Davis, members for 12 months. Thank you, Maria, so much. You guys are really,
Now hold on.
really wonderful.
One thing I do want to backpedal on: Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens.
Go.
I refuse to believe this until I see this. All right. Why is this official or something like that? Has it been officially? Because I refuse to believe Stone Cold's getting back in the ring until I see it.
It's in Texas.
Yes, it is. This is not the first time they've been in Texas for WrestleMania, bro.
I think KO can carry him.
I agree, but I'm not even sure Austin will need too much carrying if he's ready and in shape.
Julian Arness says, I'd like to see Monty in a shoot against the King of Connecticut. Pharaoh would get demolished. No one wants to see that.
Very nice, Julian. It's good to know that you're still out there hating my guts. Fuck off. Okay, next.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, I think that was actually funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious. He cracks me up.
You got good hair like King of Connecticut.
I do.
I don't.
I do.
So would you rather
you got big
would you
muscles.
rather get your ass kicked by the King of Connecticut but have hair that can battle him?
Yeah. Well, listen, nobody's kicking my ass because you know that basically I break every fucking rule in the book. You know it already.
Would you bite the King of Connecticut?
I would do whatever the fuck I had to.
Would you bite his nose?
You know? But quite honestly, I like the guy's hair, so I'm not going to even fight him. I'll be like, good, you got great hair.
Great hair.
I'll just hit the mat. 1, 2, 3. You win. You
Back
got
to
better hair.
KO. Back to seriousness.
Oh, by the way, though,
Can Stone Cold hold his own if he does wrestle? He's much older.
Right.
He wasn't the greatest wrestler to begin with. We all know this, right?
Yeah.
Great wrestler, don't get me wrong. He's greatest in-ring performer.
He's a great in-ring storyteller when he was doing what he was doing.
No doubt.
You know, as far as Austin goes, listen, if Austin decides somehow, I'm going to get back in the ring for the first time and actually have a match in almost 20 years, then he's going to be in shape. He's going to take it seriously. I don't think anybody's going to have to carry him. You know, I think if Stone Cold decides to do it, he'll kick ass just like he always did. He's still a big dude. I still wouldn't want to mess with him. You know what I mean? So I think he'll be fine.
Hey, Phil says use foreign objects if you fight the King of Connecticut.
Of course, I'd use them anyway.
You know what? I'm going to officially say this. I will fight the King of Connecticut.
Why?
I got one more in me.
You got one more?
One more in
you.
In his old, raggedy, fat-ass body.
Can we use the old formula we used back in the day when
What's
you used
that?
to fight people? Don't you remember? It was always like slipping your foreign objects,
that is true.
throwing your stuff,
That
like,
is
you know,
true.
hit him with this, hit him with that. I didn't give a shit.
I want to fight the King of Connecticut.
Oy, oy, oy.
All right. I'd like to thank the band that sings a theme song for Monte The Pharaoh and Jimmy Pharaoh, along with his partner, Bart Griggs, make up the band Wisteria Hall.
What, man?
Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as In My Dreams, This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain.
Yeah.
You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page. I ask you guys, please like and subscribe to that page. You know, not just because he's my partner, not just because he's my friend. Those two make some fantastic music.
Yeah, but
I call it iPod worthy music, but the only problem is I don't use my iPod anymore. But back in the day, iPod or worthy.
Stay tuned for our new composition.
What is it?
The Ballad of Julian Arness. Oh, it's going to be unbelievable. I cannot wait. It's going to be great.
Julian,
You're a star, Julian.
you're a star. You
you
can have
go,
a song
baby.
made after you.
I actually
and if you want to hear,
I actually appreciate Julian. He's hilarious.
if you want to hear the ballad to Julian Arness, you could catch it on Spotify.
Nice.
Go to Apple Music,
Sweet.
Reverb Nation.
Sweet.
If you didn't know it, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh. Catch us on the Monte The Pharaoh YouTube page, the Monte The Pharaoh Facebook Live page. Hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor. Catch us on the Monte The Pharaoh Twitch TV page. Catch us in New York, if you're lucky enough to live in New York, on Channel 115 every Tuesday at 9:30, and on Saturday at 11:30 against Saturday Night Live, and on Channel 20 Tuesdays at 1 a.m., where we are thankful for over 3,000 viewers weekly.
That should be growing.
It
should be
It
growing.
has not. Well, I haven't had a report
That should
in a
be
while.
well. I tell you, if it was at 80 for a while, but it has gone up a little bit. So we'll take the 83.
All right. Well,
You know, I mean, geez.
I'll take the one.
Yeah, that's true too.
I'll take
This
the
is true,
one.
too.
And we want to thank Amazon Music for making us part of their programming.
Mm-hmm.
And we also want to thank everybody out there that supports Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. On a serious note, we are truly humbled by everybody out there, where we are ranked on one of the podcasting rankings as the number 8 must-watch pro
Not bad.
wrestling
Not bad.
podcast or listen to.
One quick question,
Go ahead.
because I know I'm not jumping off this. If you do have a match with the King of Connecticut, can we have a Julian on S forklift on a forklift match? We'll put Julian up on a forklift,
Good idea.
and we'll have the two of you. Should we call it Hare versus Bear match? or
Hair versus
something?
Bear,
Okay.
and winner gets Julian Arness.
Nice. Does it
in.
come with a keyboard? Because if you get Julian Arness, you have to have a keyboard.
Wow.
What?
Well,
What?
we'll be right back with this week's theme. Trick me once, shame on you. Trick me twice, shame on me.
See you in a sec. You too, Julian. That's right, folks. Canine Corral for all your dog daycare and overnight care. Call 631-549-1544. That's 631-549-1544. And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB. And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monte The Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV, straight out of Ronkonkoma, New York. We've got 2 special guests who will be on shortly.
Yeah.
One of our new shows on the channel. We'll introduce them, but I want to get Pharaoh. We got to weigh in for the people, and I got to hear what you have to say. The big news: Cody Rhodes, Brandy Rhodes, let their contract expire. Before you answer my question, I want you to listen to this.
All right.
Cody writes, I've had so many milestones, beautiful memories of this renaissance through sweat, blood, tears, literal fire, and all that. I left it on the mat. Everything pales in comparison to the final contribution. I was empowered to lead the company, the community outreach team. It's the most inward moments, your outward behavior, and your ability to take fame, influence, and do something of value for the communities you visit, whether it's the cameras are on and off, is the highest honor. I am confident Amanda Huber will lead the department with style. I'm so proud of my creations, my contributions, and the items supported are calibrated.
Calibrated is for an engine. This is, I think that's collaborated.
Collaborated.
But that's
Jesus
okay.
Christ. Give me a break, all right? Listen, dude. 15-hour days at work.
That's true. All right. I just had to know.
with such wonderful
Professionals.
professionals. Khan responds.
Oh, here comes Tony Khan. I'm going to get sick.
Cody and
Go.
Brandy Rhodes were integral to the launch of All Elite Wrestling. Cody's ability combined with the boldness and his passion for the industry and his love for community outreach helped AEW deliver on our mission and give the fans what they needed for far too long. Something new, innovative, and lasting. Basically, really good stuff.
Okay.
So before you answer a question,
Yeah.
is this real or is this fake? Is this a work or is he really leaving? I
Yep.
ask you this. Rhodes has deals with a TV show that's renewed. Rhodes to the Top,
Yeah.
which is on TBS, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
He's also
Turner folks. Yeah.
he's also got a show called the Go Big Show, which has been renewed.
Go Big Show.
Right. It's not the big show.
Okay.
All right. And let's think about
Yeah.
his career in the WWE, where, to be fair,
Yeah.
he was a small player.
Smaller. Mid.
So he was a big fish in a little pond in AEW in the beginning, which has become much bigger.
Sure.
So his fishness, if you call it right, has become smaller.
his fishness.
So now he comes back. If he comes back to the WWE, could you
Yeah.
ever imagine him wrestling Roman Reigns, Jimmy Farrow, Break it down for the fans, please.
All right. If this is a work, it is really treading on dangerously thin ice because you can only screw with fans so much. All right. If this turns out to be a work, I personally would never believe a single goddamn thing ever again, ever printed on the internet regarding what AEW is up to or what they are not up to. All right. So to me, it better not be a work because I would be really, really insulted. You know, you can swerve us, you could do this, you could do that, but this is just blatant if it turns out to just be a work. Now, as far as Cody going back to Vince, I think that that's very realistic. And no, not because I just see things with WWE sunglasses on, even though these are not WWE sunglasses. Look, his last name is Rhodes, okay? I believe that if Drew McIntyre, who went away and went through the indies and repaired in a lot of ways the WWE booking that he had suffered through with 3MB, etc., I see no reason why if Cody Rhodes returned to Vince McMahon's company, if they book him correctly, he could come back and fight for a world championship. Absolutely. He's a Rhodes, all right? So I've always wondered whether or not that could happen anyway. Another thing I can't shake, and I really need to spell out for people who think that everything's all about AEW and all the internet people with their independent love for independent, pure wrestling, blah, blah, blah. Here's some facts. First of all, Dusty Rhodes, Cody's father, worked for Vince McMahon for decades. Decades. Tony Khan can't say that, okay? He doesn't have decades worth of a working relationship with the Rhodes family. Vince does, one way or the other. You cannot take it away from Vince McMahon, whether you hate him or not. Number two, the ultimate poster boy for the purest NWA approach. You know how everybody hates WWE over all these years and WWF and NWA and Ric Flair was this and Ric Flair was that. He was part of the pure wrestling. Well, Ric Flair adores Vince McMahon and obviously had a deep relationship with Dusty Rhodes. If you think that Ric Flair would not advise Cody Rhodes to come back and take the big bucks, talk to Vince, who Rick loves, and figure out a way for Cody to come back and get the respect Cody wants, that is very possible. I can see that happening. So, you know, if it's a work, shame on them. I'll never believe a goddamn thing they ever say again. But if it's not a work, then I really am hoping that Vince McMahon will do for Cody Rhodes what he did for Drew McIntyre. People forget that at the end, towards the end of Cody Rhodes' run with WWE, fans were pushing for him. Fans were hoping he would have an individual push. But it was quickly squashed, and then the rest is history.
Can I share some thoughts of the viewers, please?
Absolutely.
Maria Davis says she thinks Vince will push Cody bigger than Shawn Michaels.
I can see Vince taking care of Cody. I can. Because Vince did love Dusty, and obviously Dusty loved Vince. And too bad for all you NWA marks who blindly hate Vince McMahon at every turn you can get.
Roy says
Vince
will have Cody play Goldust 2022 by the end of the year.
Never. Never happen. If he comes back, there will be none of that shit, because that will be pre-agreed. Cody is not returning to become Stardust again. Cody worked too hard over the last few years with what he did.
Put on the Shade says Cody was never a big fish.
True. Cody could be booked as a big fish, though. He could. Drew McIntyre was never a big fish, went away, went to TNA, did all the other things that he did, and when he came back, he pinned Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. How many of you know-it-alls thought that was going to happen? So, yeah, I can see it. I can see Cody Rhodes returning to this company and being treated with respect.
Don the Barber says Cody, Rusev, and Jericho are all going back.
I would not be surprised. Chris Jericho's going to return one day, too. He is a WWE legend. It cracks me up. These guys have been with AEW for a year or two, and you think they're going to throw away their entire body of work. They're not. It would be stupid.
Greg R. says, I really think Brandy is the problem.
In AEW? Quite possibly. Quite possibly. You know? But I'll tell you what. Those two as a power couple, if you put them together with Vince, with the way Vince likes to deal with things, I could see that being amazing.
Do you do a Brandy Cody against Miz and Maurice for WrestleMania? If this is the case.
I can see that happening. Maybe not right away. I don't see that. Maybe a year or two after Cody comes back, I could see something like that. And that hopefully is the furthest watering down that even happens if Cody returns.
Marty Greenfield says Cody will take over NXT.
Very interesting. Why not? I mean, that was just Dusty's love child, wasn't it? Basically, he put so much work into NXT. You know?
Tony Khan never wanted Brandy or Dustin as part of the deal in AEW.
That I can't. How? That's interesting.
That's possible.
It is. It's possible. It's possible. Dustin apparently is happy. I don't know if you heard that. I'm staying.
And by the
here.
way,
all right, stay
not
there.
to make this non-wrestling talk, but I
Yeah.
really want to get this in before we bring on our guests.
Okay.
So I hope everybody enjoyed the Super Bowl, but I'd like everybody to weigh in on this.
Yeah.
The biggest hit of the Super Bowl for commercial-wise, clearly in my mind,
Woke up this morning, got myself a gun.
exactly, was
Sopranos.
Meadow
Yeah.
running the gamut of the opening of Sopranos.
Right.
Which
Right.
made me think, and I want people to really weigh in on this.
Okay. Sopranos. Sure.
I felt that this is a perfect chance for a reboot of The Sopranos.
Well, in Meadow and AJ.
And I could see either AJ's in the start of the show is running the family, and the family's considered a joke. Mm-hmm. Somebody else is running the family, and they're treating AJ like shit. Mm-hmm. And Meadow comes back, right? Clearly, we have to think that Tony was killed in front of her. Mm-hmm. So, which kind of gets rid of the idea that she doesn't believe in her father's way of living, because that might have changed her.
She's been shell-shocked
Right.
into thinking a different way about
the
things.
whole first
Right.
season is about Meadow taking over the
Right.
family, almost Godfather-esque.
Right.
This is a home run.
You know, it's amazing. I got this scene in my head that the very first episode starts with what happened after Tony was murdered is that Paulie somehow took over the family. So I got the reboot.
Gotcha.
Paulie's on his deathbed in the hospital, and he's passing the torch to Meadow, not to AJ.
Wow.
Whoa. We got some juicy shit going on here.
Now, are you watching that?
I would be watching that. Are you kidding me? Of course I would.
What do you
be
guys
watching
out there, if you're Sopranos fans, what do you think? Would you be watching Meadow as the head of the Sopranos?
Why the hell not? Why the hell not? Get her all badass and
Maria
shit.
Davis says it's time to bring the Sopranos back. Totally. Stinger
great.
says AEW's the Titanic. Cody jumped off it.
That could very well be. Maybe Cody was talking to the accountant at AEW, because every week they're signing another guy for $1 billion that they're not going to be able to squeeze into the card. So
Davio Red said David Chase says no chance for a reboot.
that's a shame.
Well, David Chase is like 78 years old.
Right.
I don't know why David Chase wouldn't hand over that to somebody else.
Well, it's going to be handed over one way or the other. Someone's going to get.
You can't just
legal-
take it, I don't think, right?
No, but I'm sure someone's going to get some sort of legal control of it after
You
his
know,
passing.
Davio, if that's what he said, he's really losing a real opportunity
Yeah,
here.
I
People
agree.
were excited over a car commercial.
Right.
I know I was.
Yeah.
I was like
Yep.
glued
Yep.
to that commercial.
Yep.
So you're really doing a disservice to the people.
Yeah.
Jimmy the Lumberjack says, do the next chapter of The Sopranos better than the other crap on TV. Hell yeah. Greg R says no. I don't know what no means, Greg, so if you want to give me clarity,
Maybe
it'd
he's
be
just
great.
not into seeing anything else from The Sopranos. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Could be that too.
All right. So anyway, we're going to take a quick commercial break where on the channel we're trying to bring new and fresh programming to give people a whole bunch of good stuff to listen to. We got Tuesdays with Tony Atlas, Vampiro TV, In the Dungeon, Kevin Sullivan.
Right.
But every so
Angela Anderson,
often, you know, some guys drop off or they come back on, right? You know, life of a wrestler.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
that's what
saying?
it is.
All good.
You know?
But we're going to introduce, coming on next after this commercial break, the new show called Wrestling Rewind with the host Angel Amorosa and Iron Man Tommy Cairo.
Nice.
Both ECW originals, I believe.
Right. Well, that's Eastern Championship days, right? That's even
Absolutely.
before Paul Heyman.
So I'm very excited to talk to them and, you know, get the fans to get to know who this new show and who they are, because they already don't know who they are already.
Okay.
So we'll be right back with Trick Me Once, Shame on You. Trick Me Twice, Shame on Me.
We have no shame, but you guys knew that. See you in a second. The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah. Jeff Quest, graphics design, custom vinyl lettering, and all your art and video needs. 516-317-8204. That's for Jeff Quest, graphic design.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte and the Pharaoh, where we want to welcome our new show, Wrestling Rewind, with the host, Angel Amoroso, and Iron Man Tommy Cairo. Thank you guys for joining us. How are you?
Oh, there you go.
What's happening?
Hey,
What's up?
hi. How you guys doing?
Good. Hello.
So we
hello.
finally get to meet each other kind of in person, right? At least over the
Somewhat.
computer. So guys, for the fans that may not know who you are, and I'm sure they do, but let's get some clarity. Can you tell everybody out there who you are and what you've done in the wrestling world, please?
Tommy, would you like
Go
to
ahead,
start?
Angel. No, you're
Okay.
the woman here.
Okay.
Angel looks lovely. There we go.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much.
You are so welcome.
I am known in professional wrestling mostly as the Virgin Princess Angel, and that was a gimmick that I had in ECW later in life when I was about 19 years old. I began wrestling with Joel Goodhart's Wrestling Radio fan club, and we traveled on the road with several different wrestling promotions from the NWA and UWF, even as far as Memphis to go see USWA wrestling. So kind of started out with the Wrestling Radio traveling group and worked my way into, I was a ring card girl for Larry Sharp and Dennis Carluzzo, who were promoting in the area. And I also did some, some timekeeping and ring announcing and, so just a few jobs here and there. When I was I started when I was around 13 or 14 years old. And by the time I was 15 years old, I had worked a huge show that was a benefit for my friend Tom Robinson, who was very sick at the time. And Larry Sharp and Dennis Carluzzo promoted that show. I was 15 years old at the time, and I managed Cloudy from, he began WWF actually after that. He was a guy from the Monster Factory. So I worked for Larry and Dennis for a little while. And then I debuted for ECW in 1993 in Super Summer Sizzler Spectacular in an incident where I got my top ripped off, if anyone could recall that. And shortly after, there was an incident with Tiger, Peaches. They had a cat fight. It's called Cat Fight Uncut, so people could look that up and check it out if they wanted to. And then I went on to wrestle as a singles wrestler in ECW, Ultra Clash. I was wrestled against Sherry Martel in a battle royal. And then I became a manager for Rock and Rebel originally, but then moved on to manage Gene Douglas as the original head cheerleader in the original Triple Threat. I also managed Curtis Hughes. And I was a singles wrestler at the time as well. And I was training Francine at the time, so I wrestled her several times. And I took, I got my top ripped off at the arena in front of a massive amount of people, so people knew me for that. And then at November to Remember 93, we had a match with Sherry Martel, busted me open with a chair, and I bled all over the place. So people also knew me for that, for early ECW. And, following that, I did battle royals and swimwear competitions and whatnot until, I got choke slammed. I was one of the first girls to get choke slammed. I was 18 years old at the time, managing Shane Douglas when that happened. And from there, I moved on to manage the Iron Man Tommy Cairo as the Virgin Princess Angel, where we had feuds with Tommy Dreamer and Cactus Jack, the Sandman. A woman was included in the feuds. So I rounded out my career in ECW with a feud with Hack Myers, and that kind of closed me out in ECW. I moved ahead then to work on the independent circuit, NWA New Jersey, and I managed the Misfits. I was a manager there. I was also a singles wrestler there. I wrestled everyone from Wendy Richter to Candy Devine to, name any of the older girls, and I wrestled them. I also ran my own promotion in the mid 90s called TCW, which brought upon a lot of the talent that came about at that time. I ran from 93 to 97. My own shows about 5 minutes from ECW Arena after I had left. And beyond 97, I started working in the Midwest and a lot of Michigan for the Insane Clown Posse and JCW, where I started off history. It's the history of the thumbtack death matches, of which I started with Madman Pondo, the intergender feud we had all over the world, actually, and carried it on to the Insane Clown Posse. And after that, I worked for USWA and a lot of independent circuit wrestling. I started doing shoot fighting in 1998, and I was in L1 for LPW in 1998. So I wrestled Yumika Hoda. I lost, but I was there. And then I did some shoot fights in Mexico, in Texas, and also Canada. I did the first women's shoot fight in Canada for IFC. Then I moved on to do some movies where I was featured as a wrestler in the movies. You can look them up, Marquis de Slime, which was directed by Phoebe Legier, who starred in the Toxic Avenger movies back in the early 90s. And she's a great big wrestling fan, and just popped me right in there as a character. So following that, let's see, movies. And then I worked I ran my own promotion in 2003, which we ran a tribute show for Rocco Rock when he passed away. And after that, I worked for 3PW against Jasmine St. Clair, and it was actually my last match in wrestling against the Rockin' Rebel. So my first actual work in wrestling was with the Rockin' Rebel, and then my last match was against the Rockin' Rebel. Following that, in about 2017, I had some issues where things kind of got around the internet, where I protested some Mick Foley at a book signing, and that was about the last thing I had done wrestling wise.
Can I ask, why did you protest Foley's book signing?
Do you want me to get into that, or?
Sure, but before you get into that, because I think that's a quick, interesting story, and it gives the fans something to hear, look forward to. Tommy, can you tell the fans a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure, but we have to go way, way back.
That's okay. We go way, way back.
Since 8. Yeah, I've been a fan of pro wrestling since I was 8. But what really sparked around that time, no, actually, I've been watching for about 2 years. At that point, I don't know, you guys probably don't remember this or have heard about it, but to me, it was the linchpin. Watched WOR TV on Channel 9, 12 o'clock, Ray Morgan out of Washington, D.C., and the featured match that night was going to be a tag team match between Bruno Sammartino and his kayfabe cousin, Antonio Pugliese, a.k.a. Tony Parisi. Mm-hmm. So the heels are in the ring. It's Baron Cicluna and King Curtis, I believe, and they announce Antonio Pugliese, and he comes out, and there's no Bruno. So the explanation from Ray Morgan was, we're pretty sure that he has missed his connection. And with that, of course, the heels put the boots to him. He's down on the ground, they're pounding him. All of a sudden, Ray Morgan looks to the side and he goes, "Wait a minute, it's Bruno. He's back. He's in from the airport." And Bruno comes in, his tie's hanging off. He's got a suitcase, dragging a suitcase. He drops it. He jumps in the ring. They battle back to back, him and his cousin, and of course they clean house. I'm screaming, It was just unbelievable to me. It was so exciting. My mother comes running in the room. What's the matter? I said, Bruno. She said, oh my God. She said, you're driving me nuts. So rather than fight what had already been a 2-year, got to have the TV. We didn't have 4 TVs in the house. Got to have the TV at certain times, and I'm not going anywhere. Wrestling's on. So, that instead of, my mother fighting that, she already saw that it was a difficult battle. She called my uncle, who basically introduced me to pro wrestling, and said, take this kid to the matches, do something. He's driving me crazy. So that's basically, I went to my first match with my uncle, see Bruno Sammartino, and he's leaving the ring, and I'm patting him on the back, and he turns and he looks right at me. Well, I'm gone. Bruno's my man, and that started how many years of being obsessed with pro wrestling. But I don't know that I ever said to myself, I'm going to be a pro wrestler until later on. I was just a rabid fan. I would get on a bus, I'd go to Newark Army, in Irvington, all over the place. Most of them were armories back then. So I had a lot of early influences before I was even ready or old enough or big enough to get in a ring or to look for a place to train, which, we talk about schools. There was no schools. There was like 10 places in the country, and you had to be referred by someone. You could not open a wrestling school, per se, and train people if you didn't have the credibility, because the rest of the guys out around the country are all big name guys, and they wouldn't allow that. So it didn't get watered down like it is now, where, who trained you? Oh, there's not a lineage that you can trace back to someone of pedigree. So I found out that my mother's best friend's nephew was, I don't know if you remember him, he was an old enhancement talent guy. I had read an article about him. He had his jeans on in the gym, which I thought was funny, bell-bottom jeans, and he's on the preacher bench, and he's curling. Just an impression. Now, he was not a big-name guy, but it's funny, I somehow sensed that the enhancement talent, even before I was hip to, the business, were better, or I was more interested in them than the guys that were on top. So I badgered my mom to call friend Mary, and please let me know when Pete Reeves is around. So several times I would meet with him, and we'd just talk wrestling. He became my first mentor. And then I guess it was, to go back real quick, my background started, I have a picture of me at 2 years old holding up a bodybuilder magazine with a guy doing a front lat spread, which I eventually used to win the Mr. New Jersey in bodybuilding. So that's the seed was planted there, not necessarily for wrestling, but to me, that was a man, and he didn't look like regular guys. He was enhanced, not by any chemicals, just because he worked out and he had a physique. That just attracted me at 2 years old. I mean, that's a heck of an early time to get, an idea in your head. And from there, I went on into Olympic-style weightlifting at 12 years old, and won was top 3 in the country for 3 years. I was still a wrestling fan during all this. And I was also going doing amateur wrestling in junior high, and I was also in martial arts. Point something had to give. I couldn't do all 3. So I gave up the martial arts, kept concentrating on weightlifting at the time. And then about 1983, I wanted to be a bodybuilder at that point. I liked the way they looked. All this Olympic lifting didn't enhance your body by much. It just gave you an odd physique. Big thighs, big butt from squatting. Not a lot of upper body. Traps from pulling the weight up. So I wanted to be a bodybuilder. In that day, they didn't have bodybuilding shows on. They were at the end of weightlifting competitions. So if you wanted to see the bodybuilding, you were there till 10:30 sometimes before they started. Excuse me. So I would badger my father, who we were in a troop. We were a team. So you imagine a bunch of guys are sweaty and tired and hungry, but they allowed me to see at least a few guys come out. So in 1983, I'm sitting in the pre-judging of 1982 of the Mr. New Jersey, and we smuggled beer in, and we had it under our chairs, and we were drinking, And out comes a guy in the middleweight division that I know. And I immediately look at him. I go, I could beat that guy now. And they looked at me. I said, I'm going to be in this show next year, and I'm going to win this middleweight competition. Yeah, okay. I mean, at that point, it's a pretty bold boast. Had never competed in bodybuilding yet. Had a weightlifting background at a high level. I just felt it wouldn't be that. Well, I had to go to a qualifying competition because you just couldn't waltz in to the Mr. New Jersey. You had to go into a smaller show, qualify for the placing. You had to have top 2, top 3. Then you were qualified. Well, I went into that show, and I remember a gentleman that ran a gym, Gus Salerno. He had one of his men in my division, and we were standing on the side by the curtain, waiting for everybody to finish posing. When his guy went out, and I looked at him, and I said, he looked like Hercules, a real short guy. I'm like, I got no chance. He looked at me, and he said, what? He said, you're going to win. And I'm like, don't play with me. You know what I mean? Seriously. So as they're calling the placings, I'm getting more and more depressed. 5th place, Joe Smith. 4th place, I'm like, that's it. I'm done. 2nd place, and the winner of the 1983 middleweight competition, Tommy Cairo from Belleville, New Jersey. I'm looking around, like, actually, that's the truth. I had no idea, And I beat 32 of the best middleweight in New Jersey, many of whom were returning multiple times just to crack the top 5. So here I am, a nobody. Nobody knew me, and that was the beginning of my bodybuilding career, which continued until 1989 when I won, after a 5-year layoff, I won the 89 Gold's Classic. I prior had placed in the top 10 of the Mr. America competition. So at this point, I was maybe, less than a year off of the 85 Mr. America, and still interested, in wrestling. And I ran across a magazine that actually turned out to be a friend of mine, Carmine DeSpirito, Wrestling Magazine. And in there was an article about the Eastern Wrestling Alliance out of Seawarren, New Jersey, and there was a phone number. I was like, wow, score. Called the phone number. Jimmy Ryan, one of the guys that owned the business, we spoke for a few minutes, very short, and I explained to him I was interested in getting into wrestling. Blew me off completely. So I just decided to go to one of the shows. It happened to be on what we found out later, the boardwalk that was a pier that was owned by Gary Capetta and his family. So if you go back to when I was 12 and 13, going to the school, the matches at my school, WWF, I met Gary. So I knew him already just from hanging around the matches. He let us in the back door a couple times. Great guy. So, we're talking, and I just watched the show, and it was horrendous. One guy stood out, the Blue Max, turned out to be Ted Petty. So they saw me standing there, and I'll be honest, there weren't many guys walking around on the street back then that looked like I looked, especially not far off of Mr. America, where I gained weight afterward, but I was still, had definition. Jimmy Ryan, I see him, they're like on the sideline, whispering to each other, pointing over at me. Finally, I just stood there in the block pose, Finally, Jimmy Ryan comes over. He said, hey, wow, he says, you're in tremendous condition. I said, thank you. Playing it up, He said, did you ever think about getting into the wrestling business? Yeah, I said, as a matter of fact, I called some people, and it just blew me off. He goes, really, who was it? I said, you. I said, how do you like that? You guys blew me off. Oh, well, we don't know who we're talking to on the phone. So, would you be interested in starting training? We have a training program, and we'd like to get you involved. I said, honestly, if it involves anybody I saw here tonight, with the exception of the guy in the blue mask, I think I could go in right now and do a better job. I was a little cocky, but amateur wrestling, martial arts, I was built. I was very athletic. I held all the records in high school, pull-ups, sit-ups, you name it. I was pretty confident that I could do it. So he said, yeah, well, as a matter of fact, he's the trainer. So while we're talking, I look over, and I see Gary Capetta. Now, mind you, I'm probably 100 pounds bigger, heavier. And I said, Gary. And he goes, Tommy Cairo? Bewildered. I said, yes. What are you doing here? He said, this is my pier. My family owns the pier. What are you doing here? I said, I'm going to start wrestling. Really, into maybe 2 weeks, here comes this guy with a cigar. Tom Savoldi, Tom Ferdini. Hey, kid, I want to talk to you. Okay, walk over. We were in the ring. Walk over.
Tommy,
He says,
Tommy,
I'm gonna take
Tommy,
my number. I
Tommy,
want you
can
to
you
call me.
can you hear me, Tommy? You're getting choppy out
Yes.
there. Give me 1 second. It's
Okay.
getting choppy out there. I want to. I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to let the fans kind of get an idea between you and your partner what your show is going to be about, what they can look forward
I
to.
apologize. I saw
No,
it,
don't
and that's it.
apologize. It's I want to make sure everybody gets an idea of what you guys are going to be talking about, so they what they expect when they tune in.
I got you. Angel, you want to give them the Wrestling Rewind?
Sure. Well, the idea of Wrestling Rewind is to kind of bring you back in time and with people that you really haven't heard from lately. And they're, older people that have wrestled a long career. And now I watch a lot of podcasts and they're not focusing on any of these people. And I personally would like to know a lot of things about people's careers that, were left kind of like they're underrated people, kind of left like, unspoken of. People that are written out of history, that you don't hear from too much, that, maybe you need to hear from them because
Right.
when you learn the history of wrestling, then it makes you a better fan. It makes you enjoy the business a little bit more. And then as we get into other segments of the show that we have is like Wrestling Archives. Also, to give you, a little rewind on your history and bring you back to things like arena results and, just different stories and road stories between people, book readings, different book readings that we'll be going over. Tommy has read a lot of books, so we're going to be reviewing a lot of books and talk about that. And also having like a little wrestling roundtable of different talents and different guests that will have it pretty much like a Brady Bunch, all kind of talking and shooting the shit about everything from, maybe traveling on the road to good or bad paydays and who a good promoter was to work for. So we have all that ahead of us planned, and we have a lot of guests already that are lined up on the calendar and booked and ready to go. And we're really excited about carrying on with this adventure.
Awesome. And it's very clear you're both lifers. You've loved wrestling both, obviously, from a very young age. So I'm sure the show's going to be fantastic. I wanted to ask you, Angel, you said something interesting before about those folks who should be remembered. And I can't shake this. You got trained by Pretty Boy Larry Sharp. Larry Sharp was one of the big names when we were watching growing
Sure.
up. Can you tell us something about Larry Sharp? Because to me, he's somebody who has kind of been forgotten. I'm not too happy about that.
Well, Larry Sharp helped out a lot, along with Dennis Carluso in my career, and not only on the aspect of trying to get me in schools and make sure that I knew stuff before I got in the ring, but also promotion wise, how to treat people, how to put on a show, how to advertise for a show, all the little things that it took to run a promotion from A to Z. He was a guy who would take his time with you and really make sure that you were educated on the business before he would allow you to associate or affiliate your name aligning with his.
Right.
So Larry was a great person to learn off of, and just a tragic loss for the business.
Oh, yeah.
But the Monster Factory is still up and running. So, carrying the tradition of Larry Sharp is still over in New Jersey.
Can I ask
Hopefully
who took it over after Larry's passing, or?
I'm not really sure who has it now, so
Interesting.
I don't want to speak out of fact.
Okay.
So-
fair enough.
Both of you, do you guys consider yourself close? I mean, it seems like you guys have good energy together. I've watched many of your shows, and I really love them. Tommy, do you guys have a good relationship? Is it a brother and sister type of relationship?
It's the kind of relationship where if you don't talk to each other for quite a while and you talk to each other as if that time never in between never existed.
Okay.
And she was very young. I mean, she's so learned, even at a young age, that it was immediate, that we would, get along. And to this day, I mean, we speak very highly of each other, no matter where we go. And yeah, she feels like a younger sister. Just one of a kind. You know, I may be a one of a kind, but in a different way. But yes, it's an awesome marriage, and she already has the gown on. So
There you go. Maybe you'll get married.
Always.
You get like kind of married on air. So can you tell the fans when they can see you guys on the M&P network?
Okay, so
Angel,
Sundays at 7,
Okay.
starting March 6th.
Sweet.
So before I let you guys go, because we're almost out of time, we are very excited. We're honored to have you on the network. One thing,
Thank
Angel, one quick question,
Yes.
and then Tommy, a secondary question to you. Angel, you mentioned what a young age you started at wrestling. And
Yes.
again, we're not wrestlers. We're fans. We've always been fans. It's an honor to speak to people like yourselves who have entertained so many. But at such a young age and being around that kind of atmosphere, that had to be very, very difficult. And then Tommy, on the other hand, how did you handle, like, if you saw anything wrongdoings going? I'm not saying there were wrongdoings. I'm just saying I see a young woman and possibly a situation with a bunch of older guys who could take advantage of that.
well,
And that's
honestly,
what happened.
I was yes, and I was kept in the dark completely, which amazes me and angers me that I wasn't privy. But you have to understand, her and I were different in that we didn't lead the life that a lot of these guys led. I had a wife. I wasn't involved in any of that. So I kind of distanced myself, and knowing that if I caught wind of that, and she'll attest to the fact there wasn't not one guy in that locker room that could have handled me in my prime, I would have went off. There would have been a lot of trouble. And to hear this afterward and know I was right there, but I didn't know. And unfortunately, Angel didn't confide in me. So
You weren't there for the underage stuff, which is I think is what they're
Right,
addressing.
right.
We were
okay.
more appearing in ECW, which I was already 18 years old when I entered ECW, and the things that I had an issue with was actually previous to that, between the ages of 12 and 15 years old. So those were that was kind of an issue for me, and I was taken advantage of a lot in the business between those ages, because I traveled with a group that a promoter put me with to travel for the NWA and WCW. Later on, frequenting WWF also, I traveled with, truthfully, a group of groupies, and that was pretty much my childhood in wrestling, was to service 20 plus wrestlers in my teenage years. So as far as you wanted to know why I protested Mick Foley, is because I think he's a hypocrite for trying to be some kind of representation for a rape and incest organization or network, and say that he's holier than thou when he had sex with a 14 or 15-year-old girl. So that's the issue that I have with Mick Foley. I don't plan on making that a focus of Wrestling Rewind or Wrestling Archives at all. People don't seem to, take well to the story. And I've been harassed by not only trolls and just marks, but lawyers on behalf of Paul Heyman and Mick Foley, telling me that I could no longer speak about my issues with them. So, and I've done podcasts about this before, and every one of them has been removed, so that my story about how I actually got into the business has just disappeared after I've taken so many times telling it. So, not letting it bitter me right now, but it would kind of be nice if at one point people would just listen and not have such a lashback on me to hate me so much for something that I'm just telling the truth about.
Well, again, the focus isn't on that for sure, but you you will not be silenced on this channel. I can guarantee that. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
And again,
I appreciate that.
That's
and,
for sure.
and again,
I want to bring it here.
well, again, it's our honor to you guys bringing your show to this channel, and I want to thank you. And I'm sure the fans and myself are and ourselves are really looking forward to March, that Sunday, and looking forward to a fruitful relationship between all of us. Again, Tommy, I want to appreciate you coming to us and bringing this opportunity to us. I'm sure the fans will.
Thank you.
And again, it's our honor. And you know what, Angel and Tommy, we're hoping that whatever stories have to be told are told on this network and people hear the truth if this is what's really going on. But again, that's not necessarily the focus. But you know what? Everybody tune in March, because I'll tell you what, you're probably not going to know what's going to be said, and you're probably not going to want to miss it. And just people writing out right here, no one even heard that story about Foley.
Yeah, don't forget the truth hurts. So you just dish it out the way you see fit, Angel. Thank you.
All right, we want to thank
for the opportunity. Thank you.
We want to thank you guys for coming on, and we'll see you in
Tom.
March. And God bless.
God bless. Have a good night.
All right,
Thanks, guys. Both of you. Thank you.
holy
Dude, I'm a little
shnikes.
pissed off right now.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm a little pissed off after what she just said.
Yeah,
You know?
it's kind of fucked
Oh,
up.
yeah. Well, hey, he's your author for children's books.
Well, again, I didn't know anything
listen,
about
I'm
anything.
not-
When she
I'm
mentioned
kinda
she was
pissed off right
she was
now.
working in
Yeah.
wrestling at 13 years old, I'm
Yeah,
like, that
yeah.
can't be good.
No, that can't be good.
Instantly, I knew that couldn't be good.
How does that even happen at 13 years? We're going to have to talk to her more.
Well,
I mean,
I'll
how
tell you
does it
what,
even
don't have to
started?
talk to her more.
You know,
Catch her.
That's true, too.
On March 7th,
I'm
I
sure
think,
she'll
right?
fill everybody in, you know, all the in-betweens, you know.
And Tommy Cairo, ECW original.
yeah.
Guy was built like a brick shit
Yeah,
house.
I didn't know he was
Still
connected
looks
to
like
our
he's
buddy
in great
Gary.
shape.
Was that the same Gary Capetta?
Same Gary
That's our
Capetta.
Gary. That's pretty
All right.
cool.
Anyway, we're almost out of time. Guys, want to thank you for joining us. I just want to remind everybody, upcoming shows, March 5th. I think we're opening up with Man Mountain Rock
Okay.
from the WWE.
Okay.
Then Kevin Sullivan.
Okay. There's two.
We will possibly have a very special surprise.
Oh, no.
For
What are
the
you
Kevin
up to?
Sullivan
What
interview.
are you up to? All
Very,
right.
very special surprise.
Oh, boy. Go on.
And then after that, we're going to have
That's two so far. What do you do? What? You're not going to ask me to remember
Dutch
this.
Mantel.
You're the king of promos.
Dutch
I'm
Mantel.
psyched about Dutch Mantel.
Dutch Mantel in
Very
studio.
That's three. Oh my God, there's a million of them. Matt, you might want to just throw them all up so I can remember. Where's the drawing for Tony?
Matt, did you throw it up? Did you get it?
Didn't
Where's
Tony?
Jeff?
I thought Tony
Jeff
drew it. It's
blew
right
it.
over there. There's the Tony's painting is right over there.
Oh my God, that's right.
No, it's right there.
I
Hey,
can't
can
see.
somebody
No,
hand
I
this-
got it.
What?
I got it.
You
Hold
throw it
on.
up?
Just rock steady.
Oh, by the way, I
people.
just wanted to throw this in. That day is our Hamburg. Don't you want to know what that means?
Oh, there it is. Look.
What? Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God, I'm
thank
such a
you.
moron.
Oh,
Thank
there
you.
we go.
All right, there we go.
I don't
All
know.
right, let
Can
me see
everybody-
what-
If I move it this way, there it is.
All right. So we've got Man Mountain Rock,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then we got Outback Jack.
Yeah.
Then we got Dutch Mantel,
Mantel. Yeah, that's fine.
Kevin Sullivan,
Yeah, right.
and Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker will
Wow.
also be in
this
studio,
is
guys.
insane.
Yeah, so it's going to be very exciting.
That's our Hamburg, like the Beatles when they went to Hamburg and played 8 hours straight and took pills to
Yo,
stay
can, I put
awake.
that, can I put that over here? Because I don't want that to get bent.
Yeah, there
Jesus,
we go.
Mary and Joseph.
There we go.
So anyway, I want
Did Tony eat what he drew? This hot sauce on the back
There
of
might
this?
be.
Oh, never mind.
So I want to thank everybody for joining. Again, I want our honor. So enjoy Saturday if you're
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
And then we have a
enjoy it.
Thursday show.
Yeah.
And then it's this next Saturday,
It's
isn't
coming.
it? March
no,
5th?
No, it's a couple of weekends.
Oh, it's a
isn't
couple
it?
of
We
weekends.
got like 2 weeks.
I'm
from
jumping all over it. Anyway, I want to thank everybody, and please don't forget the one of the new shows joining. Again, a lot of people saying Pipe Bomb. Well, you ain't gonna want to miss it.
Yeah, that was.
This
yeah,
is
Pipe
a
Bomb.
beautiful young lady who decided to get in wrestling, and I think maybe she got a little more than she bargained for at the time, right?
I'm pretty pissed off about this.
All right, send us out, big guy.
Yeah, you've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh, and I implore you, have a nice day.